These are visuals you're getting now of the funeral procession and the final rites to be conducted in a few minutes from now of the army jawan Aurangzeb, who was abducted and who was later killed by Pakistani terrorists. He was shot multiple times on the neck, on his neck and head. These are visuals of massive crowds now as he makes his last journey. Those visuals of that young man, a young jawan, just 24 years old, who was going home for Eid, and today is Eid, so it is extremely tragic that now he is returning home in a casket instead of course, for celebrations for Eid. And those of course images there of his family members, friends and just villagers and locals who are going to be attending that funeral procession of that young man on your screens on the other side, who has been killed by Pakistani terrorists belonging most likely to the Lashkar-e-Taiba, as the police said. And in fact, what officials are also pointing out now, that before he was killed, he was questioned about his terror operations in Shopian, where he was posted, about his other postings, his responsibilities by the terrorists as well. And he was abducted at Kalampora, where he was making his way to home in Rajouri district for Eid, and his body was found about 10 kilometers from where he was abducted in Pulwama district on Thursday night, with bullet injuries on his neck and his head as well. And he was a buddy trooper who was dropped on the way by his other colleague when he was making his way for celebrations for Eid, but he was waylaid, kidnapped and then brutally killed by the terrorists as well. And those images, they're very, very telling of how this was supposed to be a celebration on Eid, but a village, a community coming together there on Eid to mourn the death of one of their own. That is that young man, Army Jawan Aurangzeb, who was killed brutally as well. We've had a spate of such attacks, most recent of course being this, coming in also after that tragic death of Shujat Bukhari, that senior journalist who was also killed point blank range by terrorists. His two personal security officers were also killed, and today news of another army jawan who has been killed in cross-border firing by the Pakistani side as well. So the violence there escalating nonetheless to what many are calling the 1990s era, where we saw widespread violence and targeting of journalists, of civilians, of security personnel, of police and of the army. And what is most worrying here are that that army officers and police officials who are part of major terror operations are now being targeted, they are being identified and they are being waylaid when they're going alone home. And that is a worrying sign in the escalation of the violence levels in Jammu and Kashmir. This of course coming at a time when there have been a series of high-level security meetings as well, chaired by none other than the Home Minister as well and the National Security Advisor as well. So those of course are those images that we are seeing of that brutal killing, and the aftermath of that of course being the fact that this man is now going to be buried in his hometown. He was supposed to come home, but he is coming home instead in a casket. And this of course, even as in May last year, young unarmed army officer was kidnapped by terrorists while he was attending a family wedding. His bullet-ridden body was found the next day. Umar Fayaz, 22, a lieutenant of the Rajputana Rifles, was also joined the army 5 months ago, had also been brutally killed. So this is the escalation of violence that we are seeing in many parts of Jammu and Kashmir, unknown earlier. In the heart of Srinagar, Shujat Bukhari being killed point blank, and there's been widespread condemnation of this. There has been review meetings. The Union Home Ministry is taking stock of the situation and have already decided that unilateral ceasefire with terrorists will not continue post-Ramzan, and that it will be once again business as usual. And also the fact that Amarnath Yatra, there are question marks on security as far as that is concerned, and that will be upped as well. So that casket of his body being brought by army officers. This is such a hard day and such a tough day for those in the line of duty who get killed. These are the colleagues of this man brutally killed. What must be going through their minds as they bring that body of their own colleague here in his hometown, where several people are mourning his death. These are difficult situations that the security personnel are facing in Jammu and Kashmir, and there needs to be, of course, a unified decision on how to deal with this between the PDP and the BJP and the central government as well as the state government on how to take this forward. Wrapped in the Indian flag, that is the body of Aurangzeb, only 24 years old, found 10 kilometers away from home two days before Eid, with his body bullet-ridden and bullet injuries in his neck and his head. He was brutally questioned about his security operations, his postings and his responsibilities before he was killed. Even a phone call was made to his father threatening that his son would be killed. And as we show you those visuals, we are going to be slipping into a break, but our focus will remain on what is unfolding in Jammu and Kashmir, and it is indeed something that my colleagues have also been reporting on, the fact that this is simply not just terrorism that we have seen. This is another kind of terror activity that is taking shape in Jammu and Kashmir. Nazir Masoodi is now joining us on the phone line. And Nazir, what a hard day there to report on a tragedy like this. It is Eid. This man's body being brought back on Eid. He was going to go home for Eid celebrations.
Yeah, exactly. That is the tragedy Kashmir is witnessing. Soldier, the fallen soldier Aurangzeb's body reached home on a day when family, everybody was there waiting to celebrate with him. He was also going on leave to celebrate Eid with his family after month of Ramadan. But the life was cut short and he was abducted, kidnapped and then killed. He was brutally killed, and today his body arrived here. Celebration actually turned tragedy for the family here in Poonch. They were waiting for their Aurangzeb, a soldier who was posted in South Kashmir, actually a Jammu and Kashmir light infantry personnel who was deployed with the 44 Rashtra rifles. And it looks like militants knew he was traveling, yet he was going home. That is why they intercepted the private vehicle in which he was traveling, and then they kidnapped him and then brutally killed. Later on in the night, his body was recovered, and the army paid tribute to the fallen soldier. It is a tragedy on yesterday when Shujat, a journalist who was killed in Srinagar, he was going to for the iftar to break his fast at home when he was brutally killed, and the soldier who was going home to celebrate Eid, he was also brutally killed. So tragedy, and one civilian yesterday during the clash, he was also killed. So if you see anywhere, it is the tragedy. Eid, very few people can celebrate actually Eid in the real sense. Otherwise, it is people visiting graveyards, people visiting, victim family, mourning the deaths. It is a tragedy in Kashmir which is unfolding in the valley. We have seen large number of people being killed. But on the eve of Eid, we have seen spurt in violence where these people have been killed. 3 people, a soldier, a journalist and a civilian being killed just a day before the Eid. So that is the Kashmir tragedy Kashmir is witnessing. And right now, this body of fallen soldier Aurangzeb reached his home. Everybody is mourning there. Since yesterday, they were waiting for the body. First, they were waiting him to come home and celebrate Eid with them. Now, they have received his body on the day when people normally celebrate Eid after observing a month-long fast during the month of Ramadan.
Absolutely, Nazir. Thanks so much for joining us on the latest on that last journey of that army officer Aurangzeb who was kidnapped and later killed.